Hey everyone, welcome to this session where we'll pay attention to the joints in our hands and our wrists and a little bit into our shoulders. I love this session. I'm a rock climber myself, and I also have a little bit of early arthritis in my hands, and so I use this session really as a cleanup and a precautionary method for pain in my body. And the only prop I'm going to ask you to have today is a ball. In fact, if it's hard for you to sit kneeling, you can also grab a prop for underneath your seat, and a lot of these things you can do in a chair as well. But for that ball, I'm using a specific rolling ball, but you can grab like a tennis ball or whatever you've got at home. And this is just a short segment of the class, so if you don't have the ball, you can also play without it. But let's start with the ball. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to come onto my knees here and then take that ball down in front of me and start to massage the fascia of my palm on the ball. So I'm rolling around into this. You can switch directions. And notice sensation in that one palm. Okay, so I'm thinking about the bones of my hand, and I'm trying to roll that ball in between the bones underneath my fingers, so getting a little bit of space in kind of the webbing in between my fingers. And then another thing you can do here is bring that ball and press down, apply some pressure in between your index finger and your thumb. And that might feel really good to do that. And then if that's not enough sensation, here's another thing that I do is I use my other hand and I apply some pressure. And you can use your thumb and get in between those bones of your hands, and you're doing it right. So anything that feels good here works. There's maybe that headache point in between the webbing of muscular tissue there in between your thumb and your index finger, and you could apply some pressure there and press with your other thumb into that region. Just a little bit of self-massage. So play around with it. You might even pause the video and spend a bit more time with this. And then let's come off of that hand, give it a good shake, and find that headache point. So you can pinch with your thumb and index into that webbing and find that just right pressure point for you, and take a breath in and out. Maybe relax the hand that you're pressurizing. You can let that go and shake it out. Let's switch sides. So we're going to roll out through the left side, and that might be enough. Applying that pressure in between the bones of your hands. Maybe finding that webbing in between your index finger and thumb and pressing down into that. I don't know about you, but a hand massage is one of my favorites, and this is a nice way to give yourself some of that. And then if it's not enough, you can use your other hand. So applying some downward pressure, maybe more pinpoint with your thumb, maybe a little bit more general with your other hand. And you can get into that webbing in between your index and thumb with your other thumb. And feel free to, again, pause the video, take more time with this. And I'm going to come up and off of that and find that pressure point, sometimes called the headache point, and find that spot for me where it's pleasurably intense. And take a breath in and out. Maybe you can relax your neck and shoulders there as well. Okay, you can shake that out, and I'm going to put my ball to the side and show you a little more self-massage that can come down into your forearm. So many of us who work on devices, we're going to have tension all the way up into our forearms. So if you can take your right forearm to the ground, palm facing up, and then with your other lower arm bones, start to knead into your forearm tissue there. And you can go from your elbow crease all the way down to your wrist. And if you really relax your bottom hand, you might get this kind of nerve flossing curl of your hand, especially as you go down to your wrist. I love this. If you have the mobility for it, something that I do is get my opposite knee, so left knee, onto that forearm and do the same thing. Kind of knead up and down. A little forearm smash. Okay, let's switch sides. And left hand comes down, palm facing up, and you can knead down the forearm. And if you really relax that bottom arm and hand, you might get that kind of nerve flossing, curling in your bottom hand. So you can stay with that. No need to rush it. Maybe you take that opposite knee. This one takes a little more mobility to get your knee up on your forearm. You can keep going with that a little. Okay, and come off of that. Shake out through your hands. And I'll ask you to come onto your hands and knees for a tabletop. And then press your hands into the ground and start to shift forwards and back with straight arms. So if you go beyond that 90 degree of your hand bones in your lower arm, you might feel a bit of a stretch through the carpal tunnel region in the base of your wrist. And the pacing is up to you. So exploring that. Always feel free to link in that foundational breath practice, those more abdominally focused breaths. You can come to neutral and then move your hands to point out left and right and shift side to side with straighter arms. And then let's see how it feels to turn our fingers all the way towards our knees. And if that's too much sensation for you, you might walk your knees in a little so more weight is in your legs. And you can go forwards and back here. If it's available to you, you can sit back either on your tuck toes or the tops of your feet and maybe even start to peel the heel of your hand up off the floor. Your thumb might come off and your thumb might want to curl in, kind of like a texting thumb. See if you can reach out through your thumb and maybe even bend your elbows a little. Might take a big breath into that. You can even round your back here and tuck your chin. Whew, okay, come on forwards out of that. I'm gonna give my hands a good shake. And then back onto all fours and start to shift up onto the knuckles underneath your fingers and see if you can bring the line of your wrist and armpit a little more over your knuckles. And then we're gonna decelerate the lowering of the hand, so slowly lowering there until the heel of your hand touches the ground. Then let's pop back up onto the knuckles. Shift a little forwards, any amount that you're allowed to there. Press into your finger pads and slowly lower your heel of your hand down. One more time like that, pop up. Shift forwards. And slowly lower. And you can release that out by shaking. And then I'm going to take one back of the hand down here. And I'm going to try to flick my nails into the ground. So not all of the pressure is kind of dumping into the top of my wrist. I'm going to distribute it into the fingers. And then I'm going to slowly start to straighten my arm. And I'm going to slowly start to move the veiny part of my elbow forwards. You might not get all the way straight there, and that's fine. You can take a breath into that and out. And shake that out. Switch sides. So the left hand down and bend, and then slowly start to straighten your elbow. Doesn't have to get all the way straight, and you can flick your fingernails into the ground. And maybe turn the veiny part of your elbow forwards for a breath in. And out. And shake that out. All right, so we're gonna sit back on our heels. And if this is uncomfortable for you, sit in any way that feels good for you. And we'll take our hands forwards and open up our fingers as wide as we can. Like even that pinky finger. And then squeeze your fingers together, like you're like clamping the fingers together. We'll do that one more time. Open and close. And this is more for dexterity of the joints of your fingers. I think there's 27 bones in your hands. That's a lot. So we're going to open our fingers up towards the ceiling and then fold at the knuckles at the top of your hand there. And try to straighten your fingers. This is hard for me. So I'm going to try to keep those fingers straight without cocking my wrists forwards. And then come back up. And then fold. This is a really simple movement, but it's actually quite challenging. And I love it because of that. And then come back up. So now let's try folding at those knuckles and then curling in at your second knuckle down your finger. And then curling in at your first knuckle and making a fist. And then we'll reverse that, opening that first knuckle, second knuckle, and up. I feel that in my forearms. Let's try that one more time. Fold, curl at the second knuckle, first knuckle, uncurl, and up. And you can shake out there. Then let's take our fists together and take your knuckles together, fist knuckles, and try to curl your hands in towards your heart. So get that action of curling in, and then keep that action of curling in as you push your hands forwards. And you might feel a tremendous stretch on the top of your wrist there. And breathe into that. Let's release that out, interlock our hands, and start to figure eight through our wrists. So we're going to go one direction and then the other. I'm just really appreciating how much time we're spending on our hands. They do so much for us. Okay, then we'll let that go and interlock our hands, press our palms forwards, and reach that up and over our head. So you might notice that the pinky finger webbing wants to pull apart. See if you can keep the pinky finger webbing pretty tight as you take your arms above your head. And you don't have to get them all the way up by your ears, but try not to compensate with your back by arching your back. So see if you can make your back as long as possible, lift your back ribs up, and then gently take your biceps towards your ears for a breath in and out. Okay, let's take our hands down, switch the knuckle clasp, so the opposite index finger's on top. Keep the pinky finger webbing tight and come all the way up. Try to keep that webbing tight. Try not to compensate with a big back bend, so lifting your back ribs and then bringing your biceps closer to your ears for a breath in and out. Right, let's let our hands go. Sit any way that's comfortable for you. You can sit with your hands in your lap, maybe palms facing up, and close your eyes to close this short practice. And with palms up, sometimes I think about, what do I want to receive in this receptive gesture? And maybe what do I want to give? How do I pay it forwards? The benefits of the practice. Thanks for being here with me today. I hope your hands feel as tingly and warm and lovely as mine do right now. Hope to see you in the next class. May of peace.